Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Insert Wisdom podcast episode number 1. I have never tried podcasting before, but I recently joined Substack and I saw that there was a podcasting option. I've always thought about creating a podcast, so this seemed like the perfect time to give it a shot. So I'm still learning. Hopefully the audio's good. And I'm not gonna lie, I am feeling a little nervous, but you know what? We're gonna try anyway. The Insert Wisdom podcast is basically going to be a collection of personal reflections, meanderings, things that I'm thinking about that day, and quote unquote wisdom that I've learned through my life. This is definitely not a podcast for teaching. I'm not sitting here pretending to have all the answers. I just am somebody I've had a very interesting life. I have digested a lot of different information, and I have an unquenchable thirst to know why behind everything. I'm also a very creative person. I read a lot. And so this podcast is just another way for me to make content for people out there. I also post regularly on TikTok and Threads and YouTube. So you can always check out those places if you want more content from me. But what is so nice about podcasting in particular is that I get very fixated on looking my best, right? And so obviously with YouTube and TikTok, that is part of the game. You know, wake up, do your makeup, do your hair, get looking good for the camera. But with podcasting, it's just me right now sitting at my desk with this microphone speaking to you. And a little quick story from earlier today. The main reason I decided to sit down and start this podcast, or at least give it a shot, is because I had posted a video on TikTok and someone commented that I had a really relaxing or soothing voice. And I'm somebody who has never really thought about my voice at all. In fact, I didn't really like my voice very much because I remember growing up that family members would say like, "Oh, your voice is so monotone. Why are you so monotone?" Or when I was in acting class, my teacher said that I had a tinny voice. So the idea of using my voice for this kind of thing, or thinking that it was nice in general, was just something that never ever crossed my mind. But it created this idea in my head that, well, maybe I can try podcasting. Maybe my voice can bring some kind of solace for people. Maybe people will enjoy listening to me yap about various topics whenever I feel like sitting down to create an episode. So that's really the whole reason I started this podcast. So I figured I would tell you a little bit about myself before I jump into the topic that I've been thinking a lot about today. My name is Kate. I'm a writer. I have a published book. It's called Under the Same Sky. It is available on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. I will leave the link to that in the description. I post content, like I think I already mentioned, on Threads, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm sort of in this mode right now of trying to make my creativity my job, making it my source of income, or just giving back to others in a way that feels meaningful. I have led a very interesting life. I'm interested in a variety of topics. I shoot archery. I've tried doing health coaching. I'm a certified Hellenistic astrologer. And by the way, just like getting it out of the way in the beginning, if you're not into esoteric knowledge or talking about topics that maybe you've never heard before or are a bit, I don't know, they rub you the wrong way, like astrology, for example, then this probably won't be the podcast for you, because I want this podcast to be so completely unfiltered. I just want it to be me, the microphone, and my thoughts. So if that's something that you're not open to discussion, then I would say probably listen to something else. But anyway, I have been very interested in acting, psychology, learning how to become better as a person. It's something that's very important to me. I love studying Kabbalah, the human experience. I love collecting stories, listening to people. And those are all the things that are coming to mind, but I'm sure there will be plenty of other random eclectic topics that will come up at a later date. But if you have been a longtime follower of mine on any of my social media, then you will know just how chaotic it can get on my socials, which honestly is just so much fun. So anyway, today's topic, I wanted to touch on this idea that so many people in the world seem to preach this idea that there is only one way to do something, or people will make tutorials online about, okay, this is how I did it and this is how you should do it too. When really every single human being is going to do things at their own pace. They're going to have different things that work for them. And this is where something like human design comes in, which is something that I have really loved studying in my free time. And what human design is that it's basically a blueprint for how you specifically are meant to live your life. And so then this idea of discernment and knowing who you are and knowing that we're all different becomes so incredibly important. Because I think I've noticed, at least in today's world, that when people say something online, a lot of people, I feel like, just take whatever they say at face value and then they will react to it. If it makes them angry, they'll, leave a nasty comment. If it makes them sad, they'll be sad. Or, it's very reactive. It's in the moment. And that's why I think the quality of discernment, of silence, of self-reflection is really, I don't know, it seems like a lost art in today's day and age. I know that I can at least speak for myself that if I hear something or read something or whatever that I don't personally agree with, even if it's something that disturbs me, I don't feel the need to necessarily lash out at the person who said it. I can take my own initiative and responsibility to say to myself, you know what, that really doesn't resonate with me, and then discard it, One of my favorite quotes is a Walt Whitman quote that says, "Re-examine all you have been told in school or church or in any book and dismiss whatever insults your soul." I just love that quote so much because we do live in the digital social media age. We have so much noise coming at us all the time. Other people's opinions are coming at us all the time. And so then it becomes up to us to filter that out and learn how to filter that out. And if you don't have that ability, I can only imagine how overwhelming the world must be. And I feel like this all the time. This is not me just saying, oh, this is a you problem, because in human design, for example, there are 7 centers, and each of these centers are about various ways of expression, right? So like, for example, there is an emotional center, and this is where the emotions live. There are 2 in the head. One is called the head center, and the other is the ajna center. And when you have these open, so in other words, they're not colored in, which means that for you, you don't have consistent access to that area of your chart. I hope I'm explaining that well. But like for me, and the majority of the population has open head and ajna centers. So what this means is that we're going around all the time taking in everything, information, people's opinions, words, thoughts, all of it all the time. And when you have an open center, like the head center, it's going to magnify everything and blow it out of proportion. And if you're me, in my case, drive me absolutely crazy. So something that has become so important is to sit back and say, are these my thoughts? Are these my beliefs? Do I actually think that? Like, no, I don't actually. That's not my problem to figure out. That's not for me. And then trying to go about ways of releasing those things. And so with this idea in mind, with how everybody has an opinion, how these supposed gurus are always saying, well, there's only one way to do something, and this is how, and you should do this too, otherwise you will fail, is just so blatantly and completely wrong. I can sit here and say to you, you know what works for me to help me calm my mind is to just get very quiet and to go inward and to daydream essentially and see what images come up. That may not work for other people. It will work for some, obviously, because another one of my favorite quotes is by Ralph Waldo Emerson, which is, to believe your own thought, to believe that what is true for you in your private heart is true for all men, that is genius. So, yes, we are essentially all the same. So many of us think the same. So I understand why these advice videos are so important, but the point is that if something fundamentally just doesn't sit right with you, whether it doesn't feel right, it doesn't instinctually feel right, it doesn't feel urgent or not, it's underperforming in some way, you absolutely do not have to listen to it. This is why I think it's so important to know yourself inside and out, which is the beauty of a system like human design, or if you're uncomfortable with that idea, just psychology, right? Like, knowing who you are is such an incredible lifelong journey. And I think there's some other quote. I'm going to try not to pepper in too many quotes because I find myself doing that all the time. But this other idea of to get to know yourself and be yourself is the privilege of a lifetime. So I don't know. I've been feeling overwhelmed the last week or so. And I realized it was because I was ingesting so much information from other people who were telling me how to do things. And it just wasn't working for me. I'm not somebody who can have a schedule. I'm not somebody who can do things the same way every day. Like, I literally feel like I'm dying when I do that. So the whole point of this episode, I suppose, other than saying hi and introducing myself and hopefully not fucking it up, is to say that you need to know yourself and develop discernment and follow what feels right for you. And obviously, we are a species that thrives on communication, sharing stories, ideas. We need connection, right? And sometimes you see somebody doing something and you think, oh, I want to do that too, right? But it's so important to learn about yourself, what doesn't work for you, and be confident in that. So I guess part of it is just like having a backbone too. This is something that you might notice with these podcast episodes, is that I really can yap on, and I'm one of those people who sees how everything is connected, right? And so I have to make sure that I put on some form of, guardrails so that I don't get too off topic. But anyway, I think that is all I have for this first inaugural, is that the right word? Ribbon cutting ceremony of an episode. I hope that it wasn't too chaotic. I hope that you enjoyed listening, and this feels so nice to be able to sit down in front of a microphone and just talk. And I don't have to be on camera. I don't have to worry about what I look like. I don't know. It's just another form of storytelling that I really, really love. And I think one of the reasons I'm here is to be a storyteller and to share what I've learned. So I want to say thank you for listening if you've made it this far. I don't know how to end this properly, but any links that I mentioned I will have in the description. I think there's a comment section, so let me know what you thought of this. If you have any topics you would like me to cover in the future, I would love to know. And I'm just so excited about this. It's so nice to, I'm being repetitive here, but it's nice to not think about a damn camera. I don't know, cameras can be so judgmental, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So stick with me as I learn, like, okay, am I going to have an intro and a sign off and whatever? But I hope this was helpful. And remember to know yourself and to not feel like you have to listen to every single opinion, even if that person is like, I don't know, the richest person in the world. And they say, well, I did this, and this is why you should do it too. If it doesn't feel right, you don't have to do it. Okay. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Goodbye.